It is 6 o'clock on April 2nd, 2024, and we'll call this regular meeting of Findlay City Council to order. My name is Grant Russell. I am President Pro Tem in the absence of President Harrington. I am on this side of the meeting, running the meeting. And with that, we will have a roll call of council members.
Mr. Ballman.
Here.
Mr. DeArmond.
Here.
Ms. Frischie.
Here.
Mr. Greeno.
Present.
Mr. Hellman.
Here.
Mr. Niemeyer.
Here.
Mr. Palmer.
Here.
Mr. Russell.
Here.
Ms. Warnicki.
Here.
And Mr. Wobser.
And Mr. Wobser did inform us that he would be traveling out of state today, and I would, and also Mr. Harrington the same, ask for a motion to excuse their absences. Motion by everybody. How about Mr. Greeno, seconded by Mr. Hellman? All in favor of excusing Jeff and John, please say aye.
Aye.
And they are excused. And with that, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
That's great, thanks. Don't want to not sit down.
We'll move to acceptance of our March 20th, 2024 regular session of City Council meeting minutes. Mr. Palmer.
Move that the previous meeting's minutes be accepted.
Second, Mr. Ballman. Questions or comments? All in favor of approving the previous minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, and they are approved. Mr. Greeno, add-ons, replacements, and removals from the agenda.
Yes, we have three add-ons tonight. The first one is a letter from City Engineer Kalb, West Park Sanitary Extension Septic Removal Project. Number to be later. Reports, that'll be in the reports for municipal officers and municipal departments section. Number two, ordinance number 2024-046. Sheets, Hat-Trick, Buchanan annexation, accept and approve for annexation. That'll be in the legislation section. Number three, ordinance number 2024-047, West Park Sanitary Extension Septic Removal Project, to be announced later. That'll be in the legislation section. That's it. That's in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, a second by Mr. Palmer. Questions or comments? All in favor of the additions and to the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, and the agenda is amended. On to proclamations. Mayor.
Very good. Whereas Parkinson's disease affects 1 million people in the United States, it is the second most common neurodegenerative disease, is believed to be caused by a combination of genetic and environmental factors, and is a leading cause of death according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And whereas it is estimated that Parkinson's costs the United States $58 billion every year, of which the federal government shoulders $29 billion, leaving American families to cover the remaining $29 billion every year. It is estimated that by the year 2037, the number of people with Parkinson's in the United States will nearly double, and the disease will cost the United States at least $79 billion every year. And whereas the symptoms of Parkinson's disease can include movement issues such as balance, slowness in gait, freezing in place, speech and handwriting difficulties, and non-movement symptoms of depression, dementia, and cognitive impairment, speech difficulties, losing the sense of smell or taste, and swallowing challenges, and a variety of other symptoms. And whereas numerous clinical drug trials and research by the Michael J. Fox Foundation, the Parkinson's Foundation, the Davis Phinney Foundation, and others are working hand in hand with federal and state efforts to identify causes of Parkinson's in an effort to one day prevent Parkinson's disease. And whereas more research and increased education and awareness and community support services are needed to find better treatments and a cure, as well as maintain dignity for those living with the disease today. Now, therefore, I, Christina M. Mern, Mayor of the City of Findlay, Ohio, do hereby proclaim April 2024 as Parkinson's Awareness Month in Findlay, Ohio, and encourage citizens to increase their understanding of the disease and support people living with Parkinson's. This evening, we have Barb Matheny, founder and cheerleader of the Hancock County Parkinson's Network. Barb?
Barb, before you start, just make sure the button on top has been pressed and there should be a little red light. Ooh, it's on. You're
Okay. Madam Mayor, council members, I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to address you today as we collectively recognize April once again as Parkinson's Awareness Month. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to the whole city of Findlay for joining communities worldwide in this important recognition. It is fitting that we commemorate this month coinciding with the birthday of Dr. James Patterson, whose pioneering work laid the foundation for our understanding of this disease. 1 year ago, I embarked on a journey to cultivate greater awareness and support for individuals living with Parkinson's. Today, I'm proud to report that on the strides that we have made in advancing this cause, including the formal founding of our nonprofit organization, the Hancock County Parkinson's Network. Throughout 2023, our efforts focus on raising awareness and providing education about Parkinson's. We achieved significant milestones, including the first declaration of April as Parkinson's Awareness Month. We also had radio spots, the newspaper covered our, and we had informational tables at key community locations. Look at this. Can you tell I'm nervous? My tremor kicks in big time. It's my butterfly, yes. In collaboration with 50 North, we hosted a free luncheon followed by an informative presentation on the Big and Loud program. And we provided participants with this book from the Davis Finney Foundation for free. So we call it the Parkinson's Bible. Our dedication to outreach extended beyond traditional channels with informational tables at local events such as farmers markets, Veterans Empowerment Fair, and other health fairs. We also launched initiatives like the Red Tulip Bulb fundraising sale, symbolizing hope and unity within our community. Soon these red tulips, the symbol for Parkinson's, will be blooming around town. Mine are about 3 inches tall. As the founder of the Hancock County Parkinson's Network, I'm proud to lead an organization committed to empowering individuals affected by Parkinson's and their caregivers. Our mission is to provide resources, education, and support while fostering community awareness about the disease. This year, we continue to spread awareness through broader distribution of this book and will embark on a new chapter with the very first inaugural Parkinson's Empower Walk, scheduled for April 27th and hosted by 50 North. This event illustrates our collective commitment to empowerment and understanding as we come together to acknowledge those living with Parkinson's. We have received overwhelming support already for this fundraiser, and I invite you all to join us. You can find more details on our website, which is on that little card that I passed out. This declaration will continue to advance our mission to improve the lives of the many people in our community who have Parkinson's disease. In closing, as an ambassador for the Davis Finney Foundation for Parkinson's, I'd like to leave you with a quote from their website. Imagine living in a community where Parkinson's leadership is strong, where everyone living with Parkinson's, such as myself, has access to quality care, support, and resources so that they can live well with Parkinson's every day. Where people affected by Parkinson's have a sense of belonging and purpose, feel seen and supported, and are engaged in civic life. And we're having a great quality of life despite having a chronic illness is prioritized by all. This is a reality we hope to create in this community. Thank you.
Before you sit down, Barb, I'll come present this to you. I did just want to mention that as part of their awareness campaign, the city of Findlay did plant, as we were doing our annual plantings last fall, we thought ahead with the help of Linda DeArmond and planted red tulips on many city properties and around our Welcome to Findlay signs in support. So we'll see the red tulips springing up as part of our spring floral decor.
Mr. DeArmond.
2,500 of them to be exact, actually. And I'm pleased to say that ours are 6 inches tall. So, but Barb, you've just worked tirelessly for a year, and I'm just proud of what you've accomplished and standing up a whole organization there. It's just incredible. So, great job.
And would you take a picture of us together since we don't have somebody else here?
And if you can, get out and support their walk on the 27th of April.
Thank you, Barb. And once again, that was April 27th, the Parkinson's Empowerment Walk. More information at hcparkinsonsnetwork.org, hcparkinsonsnetwork.org. I hope there's a lot of folks out there for you, and thank you so much for being here again. We have no recognitions or retirements, and we have no petitions. On to oral communications, and just a quick note, Kathy Weingant, her noise ordinance was in the form of an email. We'll address that during written communications. We have five citizens who've asked to speak tonight. The first is Haiti Sadler concerning smart cities. Smart city awareness, excuse me.
Thank you, council members. That was a perfect lead into my discussion tonight. Today, I'd like to continue my mission to inform you and the public about smart cities and what they mean for our future. In order to implement a smart city or smart 15-minute city, local governments need to reimagine how cities function. This vision can be found at the Mayor's Leadership Institute of Smart Cities on the United States Conference of Mayors website. Smart cities are based on many things like the Internet of Things, which is data surveilling technology, but it is also built with the narrative that it will help reduce greenhouse emissions by reducing electricity and heat production. It is said that in order to fight radically against climate change, city transformation is necessary for reducing emissions of CO2 by transportation and optimizing uses of buildings by increasing tree shade and tree canopies, which is why we have the Shade Tree Commission. Smart cities need expanded transportation options that are cleaner with more accessible mobility options such as e-scooters and greenway trails, reallocating road space to pedestrians and cyclists, and investing in nature-based solutions must be pursued. Findlay is pursuing all these things. Because of this city's Smart City Initiative, Findlay denies it is following. I've also raised concerns about radiation emission from all the smart infrastructure. Councilman Dennis Hellman recently commented that he believes the radiation I brought to people's attention may be a scare tactic. The fact is that many health-related problems are brought forward through campaigns. Awareness campaigns, such as breast cancer awareness, mental health awareness, and Parkinson's Awareness Month. Other campaigns include anti-bullying campaigns, men's health campaigns, healthcare public awareness campaigns. My focus on the radiation being emitted by all the new smart infrastructure could probably be defined as an awareness campaign for the residents of the city of Findlay. The future of a smart 15-minute city is a mechanism for surveillance and control that combines digital ID, central bank digital currency, vaccine passports, and carbon footprint tracking data through digital public infrastructure. While this has the potential to greatly benefit the people, that would require the people to have trust in governments that keep our best interest at heart, a trust that has not been earned by any government. Perhaps you are unaware that it is unelected officials at the United Nations and World Economic Forum that are pushing these smart cities and their initiatives. The Public Infrastructure Playbook of June 2022 states, people-centered smart cities need accessible, secure, and fair digital public infrastructure that powers digital services and ensures everyone has equal opportunity to fully participate in civic life. Were you aware that this infrastructure is geared towards restricting goals like what we consume, what we purchase, and where we go? Were you aware that these restrictions will eventually lead to social credit scores, carbon credits, and health and climate lockdowns? Restrictions that can be mandated whenever governments decide to grant themselves emergency power for any given crisis. And apparently, we're still in a crisis since most of our ordinances are passed through City Council declaring an emergency. We are going down a dangerous path set up by an elite group of people that want to completely control our lives, a plan that citizens need to be made aware of. And as our local government, you guys are following that plan with precision. That's my concern. No better example than the ad hoc committee meeting that has been created to silence our voices and any criticism of our mayor or elected officials. I would just like to say, we are not speaking to royalty. We should be able to address those that serve us, not that rule over us. A smart city is a communist city, and the more I speak, the more evident it becomes that this is the path we are on. In response to Councilman Dan DeArmond's comment of a certain person campaigning for political capital, which you were referring to myself, the only campaign I'm running is campaign of awareness for the city of Findlay residents to see exactly what this city is planning for our future.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Sadler? Mr. DeArmond.
Did you have a chance to send your date at the Dr. Coase on the radiation?
No,
Okay.
no, I got that email last week. I got to collect my information, but yes, I've got plenty of it to send. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Patty Klein concerning ad hoc rules.
Patty Klein, Terra Oaks, Findlay. I got that now. Remember to do it. I'd rather not speak again tonight, and I'd rather not be on the front page of the paper like I was twice. So I'd rather just be sitting and listening. But here I am. Jeff's not here to question, to ask questions about the different rules that came out at the last ad hoc committee meeting, but I just wanted to talk about a couple concerns that I have with some of the meetings. The first one, city council members have expressed fatigue when residents speak repeatedly on a topic. Under the new rules, I wouldn't be allowed to stand here right now because I've spoken at the last one, but things have evolved over the couple of meetings. So there's more to say, there's more information and more perspectives. So I'm just wondering how the new rules will deal with that, because there's more to say when things change. We have some other legislation coming up, whenever. I've stood here and talked about the park in question. Well, things change, design plans change. One time to talk about opposing a very expensive park doesn't seem like enough, especially when plans change and the cost changes and everything that can go along with that. A resident who's passionate about a topic who may have new information or a new perspective during subsequent meetings. The next, another one of them is the 60-minute rule that you guys brought up. I have a concern about that, and others have concerns. The concern is that there could be a filibuster if there's a topic at the end that you are not passionate about or you don't really want to hear about. So I'm just wondering how council would handle the possibility of filibustering people right out of the non-agenda items and how that would be addressed. I hope you would address that, because when somebody prepares something to speak, I know from the times that I've been here, you put time into it, and to be filibustered out of non-agenda items, of that 6 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever you guys decide, doesn't seem like that would be fair to lose that. The last one is the allowing the public to address administrators. That one I really don't understand. The mayor's participated in conversations that have happened up here, so would she no longer be able to speak if we can't speak about something that she's addressing? So I'm just wondering, if we can't speak to her, will she be allowed to speak to us? And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I'm just asking a question of how that would be handled if the mayor does have something to add. Is it a two-way street, or is it just a one-way street. This last part, I'm going to read. I don't like to read, but I'm going to read it so I don't forget anything. There have been comments made by council members during and after meetings regarding the small group of people who have made an effort to interact with their local government regularly. They are not little people or insignificant. They may not be a minority. The number is growing, but it's rude and degrading to make rules limiting what we all are supposed to be doing, which is interacting with our local government. These meetings are about our community and the people who live here. If there are people in the community who don't agree with the vision put forth by the mayor, former mayor, or even the governor of our state, it is your duty to listen as many times as it takes. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Mr. DeArmond.
Thank you. On speaking 3 times in a row, Randy Ottermatt had the same comment too, and I think our committee was open to taking that out. I think that was, my thought was it was just gonna be repetitious, but you're right, it does evolve, so we're gonna take that out.
That's
Okay.
good to hear.
All right.
Thank you.
The 60-minute, that came from the public on their or what do you call it? The petitions being, that's where that came from. So the 60-minute, I don't know, we never really thought about the filibuster. I guess we'll have to think through that, but.
Yeah, I've seen it happen
yeah.
before. So I mean, you guys spent a lot of time with me the last time I
Yeah.
spoke. I mean, and I would hate to see that type of
Yeah.
input be taken away at the expense of somebody who has
Right.
something new to talk about.
Right. I don't know. So, yeah, we haven't thought through that one. And then addressing the mayor, I guess we'll have to figure that out. So, I don't know, it's just
Okay,
more discussion around that.
great.
So, all
Great
right.
to hear.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Other questions? Thank you. Next up, Danny DeLong concerning the ad hoc committee.
I'm Danny DeLong. I live on Woodcliff Drive here in Findlay. I'm in Ward 7. I know that was a big thing to say your ward also, so I'm Ward 7. Thank you for this opportunity, this privilege to address the council. My address to the council is regard to the ad hoc meetings. Actually, these meetings seem to be pre-programmed with agreed upon talking points prior to the meetings. Feels like you've already decided how everything's going to go prior to the meeting. Not allowing the public to speak at these meetings is not consistent about what these meetings on public input are all about. Even the second meeting, when a council member addressed the committee, they were told not to speak, even though they seemed to know more about the subject than the committee members. When you do not respect your fellow council people, how do you think we feel as citizens? One question I brought up at the chair of the committee is when a question is asked to the council, it was stated they do not have to answer. Communication is a two-way street. Respect us by answering the question or state someone will get back to us with an answer. In case you didn't know, citizens are taking a more active role in being involved with the governing of your city. A council meeting on February 7th, 2023 on YouTube had 137 views. On February 20th, 2024, that council meeting actually has 1,700 views. My only concern about that is that comments are turned off. Why are the comments turned off? Are you afraid of the comments? Or is it a problem of trying to answer the comments? Maybe if that comment is directed to a specific committee, that chair of that committee can answer the comments. Or if it's a general question, maybe the president of the council can assign that to a council person to address that comment. You have chosen under the Open Meeting Act to allow public oral communication at council meetings, but you want to restrict what is allowed. Why not oral public comments at committee meetings? I don't understand that at all. You do it on one, but you don't do it on the other. Could it be the 20-minute meeting, last one you had early supper plans and you really didn't want to hear anybody talk? Thank you for allowing me to speak. And can you respond to my questions?
Mayor Murn.
I can address the comments being off on the YouTube videos. So that was originally set up during the COVID pandemic. And because of a variety of rules around it not being an actual, we were holding the meeting to make it available to the public, but because of the records laws and responses, we didn't want to have that on because it would cause confusion with people's thinking they were participating in the meeting. So that is why it was originally off. Now it's off just from a pure management of resources. We don't have people to be able to manage. We have a hard time managing the social media, let alone trying to respond to those. So that's why on our account, we tell people to, if they have questions or comments, to email us.
That's why I would say allow people to make the comments so you know what they're saying.
From a management standpoint, you can call, you can show up to the meetings, you can call our office, you can email. So we have other avenues for communication. That just would be very cumbersome, as well as then
I
manage.
understand that, but there is no record of that question ever being answered.
I'm sorry, what question?
There are many questions being answered on the comments for the YouTubes.
That's because the comments
There-
are disabled, as you mentioned.
That's what I'm saying. That's one record we have as citizens, that you're hearing our questions. Like if I call a councilman and talk to him, which I did, I talked to Josh Palmer about speaking to the committee as far as being able to get a response back. What's the answer? I don't know.
Yep, so I think there are
See?
lots of other avenues. I think from a people management and trying to maintain those records, it would be very cumbersome, and that's not something that I would be supportive of.
There's no records. It's just there. If you don't answer it, you don't answer it.
No, but from a public record standpoint, if someone then wants to go and request us provide copies of every single video's comments, we would have to do that. We have to archive them. We can't hide them. There's a lot of different rules that go in place that make it very cumbersome. So anytime somebody does a public records request, we have systems in place to archive and do that. YouTube is a different animal that would take a lot of effort for us to manage that, and so I don't think it makes sense for us to try to do that with the small staff that we
I think
have.
it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Well,
It's open communication. I hear the word transparency. That definitely would be the word transparency. You're sounding like you want to hide something. That's why you turn the comments off.
well,
You don't want to
I'm
get response from the citizens. Transparency. I'll mention that word again.
Yep, I'm sorry you feel that way. That's
Yeah, I
certainly not the
definitely feel that way.
intention. Well, okay.
Ms. Frishy.
I was just going to comment. I hear his frustrations. I see the mayor's concern. I think maybe part of this is coming from at the committee meeting, it was discussed that citizens could not address you, the auditor, or the law director, and that they wanted to turn the podium to face who you were allowed to speak to. And they said, if you have a question, go to the mayor's office, go to the auditor's office, go to the law director's office. To which some of the responses I have seen and heard are, I go there and nobody's available. I don't get my question answered. So I think I think he looks at this, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm just listening, no different than Facebook. You allow comments on the city Facebook page. I don't know if we always answer the questions or not. I can't always. Sometimes you get a lot of comments. Sometimes you don't. But do you have to archive those the same? Is it different? So if we're doing it already for one type of system, one type of product, I don't know what the right word is, YouTube versus Facebook, how hard would it really be to do that? Because of, I think the concern came from, am I right or am I wrong?
You're absolutely right.
So that, with not addressing you, because you're an elected official, if they're able to address us, they should be able to address the three of you.
Yeah, so I'd make a couple comments to that. I think a solution to the concern is we can just start posting the YouTube videos on our Facebook page, because we already have systems in place that archive all of the comments and questions on our Facebook page. They have a much better system for us to be able to keep record of that, where, again, YouTube would be a whole other animal that we're taking on, and that would be a lot of work. And we have rules that we have to comply to, and that would be complicated. But we can give you the same avenue of the comments by posting the YouTube video on our channel. I think we can embed it so then the commentary can occur on the video on the website or on the Facebook page. Additionally, when people call or email, obviously you don't necessarily have a record, but I do a lot of times is I'll send a follow-up email recapping a conversation that we both have a record of that occurring. Obviously, if somebody sends me an email, one thing I've noticed, some people don't necessarily get the emails. I don't know if it's a spam filter or what, but we have records of those that you can always ask for. So we will work on the solution regarding the streaming of it, but I don't think it will be through YouTube just because of all of the behind the scenes effort that makes us have to comply with.
Okay, I'm just saying, I don't do Facebook, so YouTube is open to anybody that's got internet. Facebook, you have to join it, and I'm not particularly fond of Facebook. I don't want people knowing my business, and I do not do Facebook. So that, to me, that's not a solution, but if you think that's a solution for more people, it isn't for me, so.
Other questions? Mr. Stasiak.
I just want to share, I know it wasn't Councilwoman Frisch's intent to do a generalization, but I just want to comment that I'm very proud that I've always had the opportunity and ability to respond to people when they communicate with me. And I'll say on the record, if anybody listening in the public or whatever ever feels I'm non-communicative, I would encourage you to contact any council member. Contact one that gets mad at me regularly so they give me hell in a meeting, because I would deserve it. Thank you.
Jim, nobody gets mad at you regularly.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Next up is Randy Ottermott to speak about ad hoc committee rule changes.
Randy Odermatt, 724 6th Street. I'm here to give some opinions on the ad hoc committee as well. Been to all the meetings, and I appreciate the fact that the committee is committed to making sure that we still have the right to address council. I heard Mr. Feiner make some comments in the original meeting outlining some of the restrictions that they have in Columbus or Toledo or wherever cities. We don't live there, you know. If we wanted those kind of restrictions, that's where we live. But we live in Findlay, and there's a reason for that. So I appreciate that, and I agree that we need to make some guidelines to ensure that council can be run efficiently. I've been to all the meetings recently, and all the things that brought this on in the first place. I sat here and witnessed firsthand, so I understand there's some guidelines that need to be made. And I think that some of the ideas that have been presented will help with that. And I do appreciate some of the ideas that were presented by Patty Klein, both at the last meeting regarding the sign-up sheet and making that more accountable to a particular councilman, and what she had to say tonight, which was a lot of what I was going to talk about. The real issue that I discussed with Mr. DeArmond after the meeting last time, and that was not being able to speak on the same topic in consecutive meetings, and it seems like that's been taken to heart. I think that as long as that item is on the agenda, that you should be able to talk on it as many times as you want until it's resolved, because it does evolve, it changes. You got a first reading, a second reading, a third reading. People make different comments, and they may wish to present different ideas as it moves along. The other thing on the 60 minutes, you know, I sort of echoed, and I forget who it was, I think it was Patty, mentioned that about the ability to, and we've seen it tonight, there's been a lot of interaction since we started talking. That all counts against our 60 minutes at the end. I think you could have modification to that would be the person comes up here for their 4 minutes, your interaction with them is off the clock. You know, that way, you know, it's not counting against that, and we can just take that right out of the equation. Findlay has a large number of citizens who are becoming more involved in what's going on in local politics. I think there's a couple reasons for that. Some of the issues that are being discussed, but I think also that there's a large number of people, in fact, probably a lot of you, that are very disgusted with what's going on the state and national level. We really can't do a whole lot about that, but we can come in here and make changes and have direct input with you people on a local level. And that's what we want to do. I heard somebody after the last meeting talking with an individual saying that you don't represent a lot of people. You got a small group that shows up for city council meetings. I don't think that's true. We can go back to, and I have the utmost respect for Mayor Murin, but we can go back to the election, the primary last year, in which 1,200 people out of 3,000 voted for somebody besides her. I don't know why, but there's a lot of people out there. So it's not just a small number of people. These people feel that they need to have a voice. And I know that there's some stuff out there that is not presented to council. Ms. Sadler and Ms. Frishy post a lot of stuff on Facebook. Some of it you may not agree with, but I think you at least should look at it to see what's going on and what they're talking about.
Randy, that's your 4 minutes.
One last thing. Hopefully, the end result of the ad hoc committee will be to create an environment that satisfies these citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Questions? Thank you, Randy. Next up is Renee LaGuire concerning grants.
Thank you. I'm Renee LaGuire. As a lifelong citizen of Findlay, it's disturbing to see many of you mishandling our city and with such little regard for our God-given rights. The overall lack of knowledge of the U.S. Constitution is also very disturbing. Your ordinances and laws do not trump the United States Constitution. When I last spoke to all of you in city council chambers, I made it clear that I don't think that you're stupid. However, I did accuse you of being ignorant. With access to information in the age of information, there is really no excuse for your ignorance. Many of you were at the Republican dinner November the 5th, 2023, and had the privilege of hearing Alex Newman speak. Mr. Newman is an award-winning international journalist, educator, author, speaker, investor, nationally syndicated radio host, and consultant who seeks to glorify God in everything he does. He brought evidence of the bipartisan, satanic plot to destroy America and how there are dark forces that want to destroy our freedom and liberty. The complete destruction of the United States of America is their goal. If you do the research, you will find plenty of information to confirm all the things that Mr. Newman presented. His presentation of the state of our nation was alarming and somewhat frightful. If we continue to abandon the laws of nature and of nature's God, we will soon lose the freedom and liberty we have enjoyed as a nation these last 150 years. Our country is not sustainable at the current rate of government spending in grants and giveaways. We as a city have no business applying for government grants that are only adding to the demise of our great nation. We need principled unity among Republicans in our community and our state to safeguard our freedom and our republic from the forces that would destroy them. Government grants and handouts only weaken our nation, putting us further and further into debt. Attending the city council meetings has brought me to the realization that there is corruption embedded in the political system and the political process, even at the local level. It needs to change for the sake of our republic and future generations. We need true patriots in our community and our state to safeguard our freedom and our republic from the forces that would destroy them. I pray that you, as leaders, would realize the crisis we are in as a city, state, and nation, that you would stop making unconstitutional ordinances, zoning laws, and resolutions, that you would educate yourselves on the history of our great nation, the sacrifices our founding fathers made to ensure our freedom and liberty. I would also suggest that you educate yourselves on communism and socialism, as our country is rapidly leaning towards those disastrous forms of government. The mayor has stated that she will continue to apply for grants, telling us that the money received in grants is our tax money, that she is simply bringing it back to the community. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that those are not our tax dollars. The federal government is $34 trillion in debt. These grant dollars are only adding to the debt while also increasing the size and scope of our big brother. I want to close with a couple scriptures. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in heavenly realms. Ephesians 6:12. As Resurrection Sunday just passed, I am reminded of this conversation in John 18, verse 37. You are a king, then, said Pilate. Jesus answered, you say that I am a king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me. Jesus stated that there are two distinct sides to this cosmic battle of good and evil, the side of truth and the side of lies. Which side are you on? Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Mr. Hellman.
If I may,
You may.
I'd like to ask you a question, because I'm offended by the fact that you said that we're ignorant and that we're criminals.
I didn't say
And
you
we're
were criminals.
communists.
I didn't say you were communists.
All right, and we don't have anything to discuss.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
We have written communications. That would be the Kathy Weingart noise ordinance email. And questions or comments on that? Letter be filed. Reports of municipal officers and municipal departments.
A letter from City Engineer Kalb regarding AIP North Apron Rehab Alternates, project number 35225200, ODOT Aviation Fund appropriation.
Questions or comments? Report to be filed, excuse me.
A letter from City Engineer Kalb regarding to replace the 2010 sanitary Vector resolution to transfer funds.
Questions or comments, Ms. Frishy?
Jeremy, were they able, I understand that the VACR that we were going to be sending over to the street department was not sucking. So it's, I understand that it was supposed to have a lot more poundage to be able to draw that up. We were down to 3 pounds, or were we able to fix it?
The sewers needs for what they need for power within their suction, within their cleaning abilities, because it's got like root cutter and all that jetting. As those get older, as they're getting used, I mean, same as vacuums. Think of a small vacuum. As you use it more and more, it's starting to lose a lot of power. It's kind of the same thing where with the work that the sewer department is doing, they are needing pretty much a higher powerful thing. So the street department, what their work does, they don't need that higher power. So the power that is on the current one that we are going to be transferring down there will fit the needs of the street department. So because of the new one did I answer that question or
No.
Okay.
So my
Clarify,
question
please.
is, it's not working. Were we able to fix it?
No,
So
it's working. It's lost its full potential power.
So at 3 pounds, it can do its job, or it needs to be fixed,
At 3 pounds.
or 3 pounds of pressure, or however you want to say
So
that.
it's just it's losing its seals. It's
So it
it's
is
vacuum
working.
of that. It's working.
That's-
So that's why we're transferring down. So that way we have a good piece of equipment that another department can utilize. So that way, then street department in 2 years, I'm not coming to you guys and say, hey, we need another Vector. Let's utilize if that fits their needs. Let's move it down there. That way we can
So no
keep what we
repair.
have.
We're doing no repair.
There
on
are
that.
some repairs on it, but that way we don't. Again, we want to make sure when it goes down there, it's not going to be next year. Oh, now we got to fix something. So there are some repairs on it, but you're not going to get a full suction because that is pretty much a new vacuum machine on that.
So in closing, there are repairs. Are they significant? Or are they less than 5,000? Are we talking 50,000 to make? Is it worth making it fixable, workable for the street department? At less than 10,000, less than 50,000?
I can tell you what the costs are, but compared to what our current model is at the street department,
At
it's
600,000.
worth having those down there.
Okay.
To have that. So
if
that
you can
way
just get me those numbers, I'd just be curious
for
to
maintenance,
see.
yes.
I would appreciate it. Thanks. 15,000?
15.
Okay,
We'll
that's all
get you for sure numbers on that, but
I just
we
wanna
don't
make
want to
sure it
send a
wasn't
broken
big.
piece
No.
equipment down to them either.
Neither did I.
Other questions? Letter to be filed.
A letter from City Engineer Calb regarding FDY Rehabilitate Runway 725 construction, FAA grant authorization, number 3-39-0034-036-2024.
Questions or comments? Letter to be filed.
Letter from City Engineer Calb regarding second capital improvement appropriation of 2024.
Questions or comments? Mr. Stasiak.
I just want to bring up, appreciate the fact that Councilman Wolfster's not here tonight. Scheduled a special meeting so that we could bring Mr. Brossard in with regard to being our municipal advisor. But he had come because it was Mr. Wolfster's intent that we discuss thoroughly the 5 and 10-year plans, not only generally, but the directionally where we were going, what we were doing with the city and whatnot. So I guess I would ask if there could be some consideration and we could come back to that and set a time when those things can be discussed in detail for all to share in, because just looking at them on a spreadsheet book doesn't give us the picture of where we're going and the things we need to talk about. And Mr. Brossart, I think, would benefit greatly, as well as myself, from that information. So just a general comment. Thank you.
Other questions? Ms. Frishy.
And I would just kind of echo that. I kind of said I don't have the full capital book yet. We did send it to committee of a whole and not appropriations, and it, to me, is appropriate to maybe send it over to appropriations to get a committee report vetting it the rest of the way. So I'll ask Jeff about that.
Mr. Kalb.
Did you receive the PDF copy at least?
And I got the PDF, but as far as readable and sideways,
Right.
and I wasn't going to print it.
I wanted
so,
to get that out to you.
Yeah,
the
and I
books are being
appreciate
printed
that.
now, so hopefully this week. But
Yeah, I think it's good to see out
that's
further.
the same thing that you'll be seeing.
Yeah, just like Mr. DeArmond said last night, he thought maybe there was something wrong in the one page that he had, because I think maybe he hadn't seen the full booklet yet. Looking out 3 years on, I think, was it Moracle or something? Yeah.
Other questions or comments? Mayor.
I would just note that you guys were given the printout at the meeting, and we had originally requested it as appropriations. I wouldn't recommend now going back to appropriations to approve something that was discussed when that's why we were keeping it in timeline. If we're looking at the future years, that's fine. As I mentioned at the committee of the whole meeting, it is our intention to have more in-depth conversations about some of the longer strategic planning and financing. So I will follow up with Councilman Wobser to determine how he'd like to handle that.
Ms. Frishy.
Let me find the best words I can. So I appreciate your opinion, and Councilman Wobser and yourself don't get to make the final decisions for council. And yes, we did go through the 1 year, and it would be appropriate because in past years we have always looked at several years out. So you're more than welcome to give him your opinion, but I think it's up to council as a committee of appropriations to determine if we would like to meet and discuss, because I think it would be beneficial to have the municipal advisor, Andrew, there as well to get some additional input, especially sitting through the water committee yesterday. There was a lot of discussion on spending money and figuring out who's on first base with doing some studies, and they did not involve the auditor, for one, from what I could tell. And it sounds like there was a small conversation about going out for bond versus another way of doing things. I can't remember, Grant, I won't say it wrong. So having Andrew in these discussions is completely appropriate, and it's a well use of the dollars that we have spent through the auditor's office. So thanks.
Mr. DeArmond.
No, I'll pass. Thank you.
Mayor.
Actually, no, I do have a question.
Okay,
So-
Mr. DeArmond.
Sorry, Mr. Stasiak. So when you said you want to look at the 10-year plan, is that just with the staff, or you want another meeting of the whole, or I mean, who needs to be involved in that to bring him up to date, I guess,
Well, I
to
won't.
bring him up to speed?
I'm not going to speak for council, but I'll tell you the conversation I had with Councilman Wobser, and we actually moved the meeting from the week before, I think it was on a Monday or something, to that date intentionally, so there would be almost 2 hours to discuss not only the 1 year, but the 5 year, conceptually where we're going. I had asked a question in that meeting regarding, can we see, maps and areas that we're opening up for development? We need to talk about TIFs. We don't have any legislation
Sure.
yet. We need
I
to move
understand.
towards
There's-
that.
there's lots there.
The 10-year, the idea is, again, from my perspective as your fiscal officer, I believe that we are not as a whole, as elected officials, getting the greater picture that we need. And there are a lot of people planning on how they want to see our money spent. And the people who are ultimately supposed to spend it aren't getting information that, in my opinion, would benefit all of us. Ultimately, though, that's whatever council's pleasure is.
So you're suggesting a meeting of the whole to bring, that he's included in, to go
To
through this?
discuss 5 and 10-year long-range plans, concepts, where we're going, what
Okay.
we're opening up, what we want to
Okay.
see,
Just
something more general.
clarification. Okay,
Yeah,
just
and
trying to understand.
no, I do appreciate
Okay,
the question,
all right.
so I hope
Yeah.
I don't sound like I don't.
No, okay, all right.
Mayor.
Auditor, if you're aware of people that are planning how to spend our money, please provide me a list of those individuals at your earliest convenience. Related to the long-term planning, I was not aware that that was the intention of the committee of the whole meeting a couple of weeks ago. My team would have been happy to prepare that in more detail and gone through that in more information. We were preparing to go through the 1-year capital plan at an appropriations committee meeting. Mr. Brossert was involved. We provided the full 10-year spreadsheet to him and asked him for feedback on it. And he said, I'm just there to listen to what you guys have to say because you're in good shape. I'm happy to forward those emails to any of you. So if that was not the plan for the meeting, it should have been communicated to the administration who's responsible for presenting that to council in advance.
In absence of President Harrington being here and as President pro tem, I will work with the auditor to get a committee of the whole meeting scheduled to discuss this in detail, and we'll look to do it so we have enough time to really dig into the topics appropriately. So I'll be sending out some emails, working with Jim and the council to get that scheduled.
It's important.
Next, we have the add-on letter from Engineer Caleb.
Regarding West Park sanitary extension septic removal, project number to be determined.
Questions or comments? Ms. Frishy?
I'm going to do a question and a request. So, question is, I thought y'all were going to try to get the committee report with this to help match up when people are reading this letter. And then second, I would request that we read this into the minutes this evening, if somebody would second that. So first question was to Grant.
The committee reports got signed today. They'll be on the agenda on the next council meeting's agenda. And we have a second from Mr. Palmer concerning reading the letter. All in favor of having this letter read into the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, and the letter will be read.
As discussed in the April 1st Water and Sewer Committee, the City of Findlay is going to proceed forward with installing a new sanitary line on Newell Street and Tappan Street. The Newell Street section has already been designed and the project is ready to be sent out to bid. To ensure that we can take advantage of the current pricing, it is desired to send this project out to bid within the week or so. In order to satisfy all Ohio Revised Code requirement, Funds will need to be appropriated to the project so that the project can be properly advertised. At this time, the project does not have a project number through the auditor's office, so when a project number becomes available for the project, the assigned number can be recorded in the ordinance. By copy of this letter, the law director is requested to prepare the necessary legislation to authorize the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer to enter into contracts and to appropriate and transfer funds as follows. From sewer fund, $1,000 to West Park Sanitary Extension Septic Removal, project number to be determined, $1,000. If you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact me.
And a quick summary of the Water and Sewer Committee concerning this issue. The West Park Sanitary was part of the projects presented at the Committee of the Whole, and has been part of the capital projects. The committee yesterday wanted to ensure that that project was cost beneficial, and it was the appropriate path to take. They were looking. We discussed it in great detail. We had folks from Hancock Public Health here to discuss it more. Robin Welly had her husband here, who has lots of experience in this area, and he added a lot of valuable insight. The end result of the committee meeting was to, in essence, with these projects, was to do nothing, let the projects stay as they had previously been proposed. But in conversation with Engineer Calb, he said, "Hey, I can get this one out ASAP, and we can probably do it at a cost savings to the city and to the taxpayers." And the committee, in essence, didn't object, said, "Do whatever you think is best." And hence we have the add-on letter. So that's why this letter and this legislation is on. It, not speaking for Jeremy, but my understanding is it is his opinion that we can be cost effective by going out to bid on the parts that he has designed ASAP, because people are looking for work to do, and we can provide them work and take advantage of good rates. And if I misspoke, Jeremy, I apologize, but I believe I summarized that correctly.
That was perfect.
Other questions, Ms. Frishy?
And just to clarify, it was a good meeting. I missed the last 5 minutes of it, but the tap in Newell is the project from 2015 that we already have money appropriated for, right? There was some kind of discussion.
There's no money appropriated to it, so that the Newell Street section was an alternate that was bid in 15 or 16 or something like that. I don't know why the decision was made to make it an alternate. Can't answer that. So we have a design for it, but there's no funds appropriated. There's funds set aside in the capital plan, but the funds are not appropriated yet. So the $1,000 is for advertising. As soon as I get a contractor, you'll see in another letter from me that'll be appropriating funds into it.
So
but
there
the
wasn't
first section
anything.
that we're going to be pushing out is the Newell, because I have a set of plans ready to go.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that for me.
Other questions? Moving on to committee reports.
A committee of the whole meeting was held on Wednesday, March 20th, 2024, to discuss the 2024 capital budget.
Looking for a motion, Mr. Palmer.
Move to accept the committee report.
Second, Ms. Wernicke. Questions or comments? All in favor of accepting the committee report, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, and the committee report is accepted.
An ad hoc committee met on March 26, 2024 to continue discussions from the March 13, 2024 ad hoc committee meeting on reviewing the 2024-2025 council rules of procedure. We recommend further discussion, receive feedback, and finalize draft for rules of procedure for council procedure.
Mr. Palmer.
Move to accept the committee report.
Second, Mr. Ballman. Questions or comments? All those in favor of accepting the committee report, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The committee report is accepted. On to legislation and resolutions.
First reading for Resolution 13, 2024. A resolution transferring funds within appropriated funds and declaring an emergency.
This requires just one reading, so we'll entertain a motion. Mr. Ballman.
I move that resolution number 013-2024 be passed. Sorry.
Second, Mr.
Overthought it.
Second, Mr. DeArmond. Questions or comments on the resolution? All those in favor of adopting Resolution 013-2024, please say aye after your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
And Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted. Ordinances.
Third reading for ordinance 2024-30. An ordinance vacating a certain portion of a certain street hereinafter referred to as the Strong Avenue Vacation in the city of Findlay, Ohio.
Mr. Hellman.
Move to approve ordinance 2024-030.
Second, Mr. Ballman. Questions or comments? Ms. Frishy.
Just to clarify, I haven't been able to go down there. It says they did 60 feet of the unimproved. How much is left? Or is the other part already been vacated?
That's the whole right of way.
Oh, that's the whole thing, okay.
And a quick point of clarification on this. There's a couple of right-of-way vacations here. Normally, we would have had a public hearing concerning this before the meeting, but because all adjacent property owners were notified and agreed to this vacation, there was not a requirement for the public hearing. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting ordinance 2024-030, please say aye after your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
And Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Third reading for ordinance 2024-31. An ordinance vacating a certain portion of a certain alley, hereinafter referred to as the 6th Street Vacation in the city of Findlay, Ohio.
Mr. Greeno.
Move for adoption of ordinance number 2024-031.
Second, Mr. Ballman. Questions or comments? All those in favor of adopting ordinance 2024-031, please say aye after your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
And Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Third reading for ordinance 2024-33. An ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director and/or City Engineer of the City of Findlay, Ohio, to advertise for bids where required and enter into a contract or contracts for construction of various projects in accordance with the 2024 Department Equipment List, appropriating and transferring funds for said capital expenditures, and declaring an emergency.
Ms. Frishy. Oh, yeah,
I did, but these were,
we need a motion first. I thought you were moved.
I'll make the motion, that's
Okay.
fine.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Would you please?
Oh, he wants me to do the full thing.
Yes,
I would like
thank
to
you.
make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-033, please.
Thank you. Second, Mr. Palmer. Questions or comments? Ms. Frishy.
The first capital improvement is for equipment only. There's no projects in that one.
You're dating me back a couple readings ago, but there was a couple projects that I had on there for startup funds. That's how I was going to look real quick. It'd been like a couple $1,000s, so that way we had startup. But majority of it was equipment. One was like the police cams for the cars and stuff. Thank you about that. So had a couple. So roof replacement at water department for CIT fund. It'd be patrol car system, new patrol car camera system, fire station 1 air condition, airport shop roof replacement. We appropriated funds for Riverside toy replacement, West Park toy installation, and then also we had a project for manhole adjustment program.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? All those in favor of adopting ordinance 2024-033, please say aye after your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Greeno.
Aye.
Mr. Hellman.
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer.
Aye.
Mr. Palmer.
Aye.
Mr. Russell.
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki.
Aye.
Mr. Ballman.
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond.
Aye.
And Ms. Frishy.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Second reading for ordinance 2024-37, an ordinance appropriating and transferring funds and declaring an emergency. Second reading for ordinance 2024-38, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or service safety director of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to enter into an agreement with the Hancock County Commissioners to purchase required land within the benching area in order to finish Phase 1 of the benching project, appropriating and transferring funds thereto, and declaring an emergency. Second reading for ordinance 2024-39, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2023-35 that amended ordinance number 2022-119 of the codified ordinances of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to extend the current moratorium on the establishment of any skill-based amusement businesses in order for the city of Findlay, Ohio, to consider incorporating the proposed additions to the current zoning code as outlined below before enacting them as part of the codified ordinances of the city of Findlay, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. First reading for ordinance 2024-40, an ordinance vacating a certain portion of a certain alley hereinafter referred to as the YMCA vacation in the city of Findlay, Ohio. First reading for ordinance 2024-41, an ordinance appropriating funds and declaring an emergency.
Ms. Frishy.
I'd make a motion to suspend rules on 2024-041 because we're moving ODOT dollars into a project.
Second, Mr. Palmer. We have a motion and a second to suspend council statutory rules. All in favor of the motion, please say aye after name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Hellman.
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer.
Aye.
Mr. Palmer.
Aye.
Mr. Russell.
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki.
Aye.
Mr. Ballman.
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond.
Aye.
Ms. Frishy.
Aye.
Mr. Greeno.
Aye.
Council rules have been suspended, and this ordinance will be given its second and third reading.
Ordinance 2024-41, ordinance 2024-41.
Mr. Palmer.
Move for adoption of ordinance number 2024-041.
Second, Mr. Ballman. Questions or comments? All those in favor of adopting ordinance 2024-041, please say aye after name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Niemeyer.
Aye.
Mr. Palmer.
Aye.
Mr. Russell.
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki.
Aye.
Mr. Ballman.
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond.
Aye.
Ms. Frishy.
Aye.
Mr. Greeno.
Aye.
And Mr. Hellman.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
First reading for ordinance 2024-42, an ordinance authorizing the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to apply for the funding through the Federal Aviation Administration for the rehabilitation of runway 725 in order to receive funds for the construction portion of the rehabilitation of runway 725 construction at the city of Findlay Airport, and if funds are awarded, to enter into a grant agreement with the Federal Aviation Administration and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Palmer.
Jeremy, is there a deadline we have to meet that we may have to suspend rules for?
I don't need it tonight, but probably next meeting. I believe it's by the end of April. So next meeting, to give you a heads up, you'll be seeing the ODOT portion of that as well.
Other questions?
First reading for ordinance 2024-43, an ordinance authorizing the service safety director and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to advertise for bids where required and enter into a contract or contracts for construction of various projects in accordance with the 2024 department equipment list, appropriating and transferring funds for said capital expenditures and declaring an emergency. First reading for ordinance 2024-44. This is an add-on, I believe, is it?
Nope.
No,
Not yet.
apologize. An ordinance accepting the designated area as shown on the Tall Timbers 3rd Edition subdivision plat, which has been accepted by the City Planning Commission. First reading for ordinance 2024-45. An ordinance amending Chapter 1100 et sec of the codified ordinances of the City of Findlay, Ohio, known as the zoning code, by zoning the following described property as I-1 Light Industrial, hereinafter referred to as the Sheets, Hat-Trick, Buchanan annexation.
And now we have the two add-on ordinances.
First reading for ordinance 2024-46. An ordinance accepting and approving an application for annexation of territory situated in the Township of Allen, County of Hancock, State of Ohio, and being a part of the southwest quarter of Section 32, Township 2 North, Range 11 East, a tract of land consisting of 77.808 acres of land more or less, hereinafter referred to as the County Road 230, 212, Sheets, Hattrick, Buchanan annexation. Add-on ordinance first reading for ordinance 2024-47, and ordinance authorizing the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to advertise for bids where required and enter into contracts for the installation of a new sanitary line on Newell Street and Tappan Street, appropriating and transferring funds thereto, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Ballman.
I make a motion that council statutory rules be suspended and ordinance number 2024-047 be given its second and third reading.
Second, Mr. Greeno. We have a motion to suspend council statutory rules in a second. All those in favor of doing so, please say aye after your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
And Mr. Niemeyer.
Aye.
Council statutory rules have been suspended, and this ordinance will be given its second and third reading.
Ordinance 2024-47, ordinance 2024-47.
Mr. Ballman.
Move for adoption of ordinance number 2024-047.
Second, Mr. Greeno. Questions or comments? All those in favor of adopting ordinance 2024-047, please say aye after your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Warnicki?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
And Mr. Palmer.
Aye.
Aye.
And Mr. Niemeyer.
Jim, we had to forget you once tonight. The ordinance is adopted. Moving to old business. Mr. Stasiak.
I've got a really old piece of business. Years ago, there was a special assessment done on Hunters Creek subdivision. I have forwarded the information, Mr. Russell, to you, as well as Mr. Rasmussen, our Director of Law. For audit, we need a decision made on an outstanding balance. Basically, we assessed putting in improved drainage out there, I believe it's for stormwater. And all the properties were assessed. We're basically done with that debt issuance and that assessment, with the exception of there was a pond, a piece of property that was a pond. That pond was included in the assessment. There was a homeowners association out there. We never received a dime of money from that association, and I don't even know if it still exists. It's about $1,116, give or take. I need your committee to get with Mr. Rasmussen and give us a determination whether that's collectible, if you're gonna pursue it. We need something for the audit file on that. So I'm just sharing that with you tonight to get that on the record.
I mean, if the money is owed, why isn't it, if it is owed and it's a property tax, why isn't it being pursued through any other means where a property tax is not, when a property tax is not paid?
Again, I'll defer to your group, and that might be a conversation you have outside the permit of the meeting. It's been some time. We haven't collected a nickel on it.
Other old business.
Are they paying the taxes on the rest of the property?
That, there's no tax being paid on that parcel at all. That's part of the issue, I
Oh,
think.
so
Yeah.
it's a bigger issue than just this. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I won't speak for Mr. Cow, but I'm guessing he doesn't want to own any retention ponds.
I do not.
Other old business, Mr. Hellman.
If I might, just to follow that through, I think to the end, it's owned by the homeowners association?
If it still exists. I'm not sure it even still exists. So again, what I'm looking for, I can't just write it off our books or tell the auditors we're never going to collect that. There has to be council, and I would suggest in cooperation with the Director of Law, decide how they want to pursue it, if it's pursuable at all, and if not, just give me direction so that I can tell the auditors, here's what the city's decided to do with that $1,100 outstanding.
Thank you.
Mr. Stasiak.
On that,
Okay, yeah. Other questions on that issue? Other old business, Mr. Stasiak.
Sorry, this is the last thing I'll say tonight. I wasn't able to attend your meeting last night for water and sewer due to a conflict, but I was very concerned, and we heard some comments today from the community. Mr. DeArmond, you in particular, I feel you were misinformed on something very serious. And I have come to believe that we have a flaw in how we're processing some of our fiscal or financial information, or how we're gathering information. Specifically, I want to give you an example or two real quick, and hope that we as a group work to improve, because I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I think we can all work together to do things better. And I don't have the answer at this point, but we need to do something. And you specifically asked a question about our reserves for water and sewer. You wanted to know that there was a 3-month reserve, and that it was in place, and that
Okay.
reserve was protected.
Sure.
This body, the City of Findlay, its council, has never resolved or codified any reserve for the water and sewer funds. There is none. There's nothing in place. And it's important that this body knows that, and most particularly to that committee, because you're going to make some big decisions based on where you're
When you
at.
say codified, what does that mean?
That means you haven't passed an ordinance. In other words, you pass resolutions and you pass ordinances. A resolution, we resolved that this is a good idea. We're going to try and do this. We passed an ordinance. We codified this. We're doing this. That's my view of it
Okay.
as your auditor.
All right.
That being said, there was even a statement made that if we ever got in real trouble, we could go to the general fund. I'm going to tell you right now, you ever go to the general fund to put money into your water and sewer fund, and you will decimate our bond rating. It would kill us. So there's a lot of things going on. And the structure of these meetings, again, it's not accusatory, but a concern. I think we're doing things in a way with regard to communication that the public's seeing, that I'm seeing as your fiscal officer, that is not allowing us in certain situations to have conversations, and we pivot off this information. Sometimes it's cumulative and we make these decisions. Sometimes a statement is made that may be true or not true. And if it's not true and we pivot off that piece of information, we've gone down a path that could be a big problem, particularly if there isn't an opportunity to correct it. I'd love to give a couple other examples. The only other thing I'll say is Mr. Russell asked a great question. He asked specifically, do we have, I think I wrote it down, do we have a methodology? Here are several $100,000 of results that we spent to determine thoroughly the impact, effects, and what we do with our water and our sewer systems, and what we should charge in terms of rates. And it's one example. We have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this model, these things that are in my hand, and they go way beyond just telling us what rates should be. They laid a basis for doing things. Now, maybe that basis is obsolete, maybe that basis is appropriate, maybe it's the framework for where we want to go in the future, but the way we're approaching things, again, my point is not giving everybody, in my opinion, the opportunity to be as well considered as our community deserves. And I want us all to work together to do that. And I feel that from my heart, or I wouldn't have brought it up tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Palmer.
Jim, I think you admitted something though from that meeting that said that it would be a bad idea to go to the general fund to transfer money into the water or sewer. That was said clearly that would be a terrible idea.
Oh, I
heard
that it said it would be a bad idea.
And that was, but you admitted that
suggested.
the way that this was portrayed by you, Jim, I think was kind of unfair to the committee.
No, I don't think so, because I watched it. Just the fact that it was considered at all. And it's a point. In other words, a bad idea, why is it a bad idea? We're not discussing the aspects of it. So if somebody says you might think it's a bad idea, somebody else might think it's still an option. It's not an option. As long as I'm your auditor, you're not going to do it. It's the way it's going. And again, I'm saying, I'm not being accusatory. I'm using examples that the dialogue we are having, in my opinion, when it comes to some of your fiscal matters, isn't as thorough or as complete or a roundtable type discussion in a manner that I think would most beneficial. It's just my opinion. And again, I want us all to be better, and I wanted to share that tonight.
Mr. Palmer.
I agree, Jim, that we all should work together and get these things right, but I still stand by my initial assessment of how you portrayed what was said in the meeting.
Other old business. Mr. Hellman.
Can I follow up on that a little bit? I'm
Please.
somewhat confused. Jim, I'm surprised that you're bringing this up now and blaming us when in fact, or at least accusing us, when in fact you're the auditor and we depend on you.
You give me an opportunity to be in a meeting and share and communicate, and you're going to be able to depend on me.
I don't know that
you
you've been
structure
excluded.
meetings in a manner where I can't speak. You structure meetings in a manner where I'm not even asked if I'm able to attend. And you're having meetings where you're discussing serious financial information. People are quoting things I said, whether they're in context or out of context. If I would love to be that fiscal officer for you, but for that to happen, some things need to prove. I'm not pointing a finger, and I started my conversation saying this isn't to point a finger or accuse anybody. This is to say we all can be better. I included myself in that. I want to be better too. I truly believe that in government, if you're doing an above average job, the community is going to think you're average and just doing your job. We've got to go above and beyond to be considered as good as we can be, and I want to be part of that. But I'm telling you, from what I'm seeing, there are some flaws in how we're approaching considering the money, and I could use some examples tonight that would infuriate some people, but they'd be true, and it would be bad. In our community, we just need to move forward, and we need to continue to improve, and I want to be part of that improvement. That's all I'm saying.
I think that's a great idea, but if it's not you that's overseeing that stuff, who is it out of these 10 people here? I'm a little bit befuddled, to be honest with you.
That's
I
a
don't know.
great question. It's
Please.
not you that's doing it. What's happening is information is being parsed. Information is being brought to the table in sections, in bits and pieces, sometimes presented partially. There's a term, deceit by omission. I'm not saying people are being deceitful, but that's a term where only certain pieces of information are shared so that ultimately an end can be obtained. What's happening is, in that meeting yesterday, I would and could have contributed a lot of history, a lot of current knowledge, and a lot of thought that I would have loved to have contributed. But one, it wasn't available. Two, was never given the opportunity. The meeting was set. This is when the meeting is. And three, the meeting was structured in a way there wasn't public comment or administrative comment other than the folks who spoke. And if that's council's pleasure, that's fine. I'm just saying what's happening today, I think we all can improve. I'm not pointing a finger, Mr. Hellman, and I mean it. I'm not pointing a finger because there are days I'm like, Judas Priest. It's tough to do things. We're all human beings, but we all can be better. And I think we're hearing from the public. They have my heart tonight because I'm hearing what they're saying, and I feel like I want to be better too. And I bring this up because that example with regard to the reserves in the conversation is the main example. So ignore the general fund thing, whether you agree or not. That reserve thing was misleading, and it takes you a direction where you think you're safe when you're not. That there is no reserve, and that's a point and an example that needed to be shared tonight.
Well, I guess in closing, if I might, if you feel as though you've been not included and should be because you've got because you have a wealth of information or something that would shed some light on some of this stuff that the 10 of us are pretty ignorant about, I'd encourage you to speak up. And I mean, I would, if I were part of the committee, I'd say, sure, if you've got something to contribute, you ought to be there. End of comments. Thank you.
And for the record, the Water and Sewer Committee meeting called for April 1st at 4 p.m. was called at the last meeting on February 5th, 2024, and was publicized, I believe, since then. The first I heard that you desired to attend and was not able to is tonight. And one of the things, as part of that conversation, I made it a point that we did not discuss reserves or our reserves policy because that was not in the scope of the meeting. The meeting was called specifically to discuss our process for analyzing and our policies and procedures around rate changes. The context of the reserve question was if we have reserves, the rates have to ensure that they are funded. And it wasn't whether we should have reserves or don't have reserves or whether we should reserve or be reserved to a specific level. It was simply a statement by, I believe, Mr. Giarment to say if we have them, we need to account for that in the rate model. So, Mayor Mern.
I would just add, again, I think that was referencing in our fund balances at the bottom. We have the minimum carryovers, minimum reserves as a note. That is based off of the EPA's requirement of 3 months of operations. That is what we continue to base it off of. The auditor is correct that we have not codified anything beyond that because it's already in the Ohio Revised Code as a requirement. And we have chosen for a variety of reasons. I won't get into all of the other details, but I can assure you that this administration, and I know many of you have lots of conversations to dive into the numbers and reach out regularly to the auditor to make sure that we understand different things.
Mr. Stasiak.
Unfortunately, I wish that was more true. I don't get a lot of inquiries on the numbers, and I would like to get more, so you're all welcome to call me, contact my office on a regular basis. When you do, we go above and beyond to make sure we answer those questions. But I think it's important that we continue to move forward and work on this, and it is a serious matter. So again, thank you for listening, and I hope you understand how heartfelt it really is.
Other old business, new business. Mayor Mern.
Well, I was just going to talk real quickly. I'll start with, we continue to monitor the rain moving through the area as well as the river levels. Our team has been keeping an eye on it all day. Eagle Creek was expected to crest out in the very low of the moderate level. That is looking to recede pretty quickly because we didn't get as much rain this afternoon. Additionally, we're seeing the benefit on the Blanchard River with the benching, with the phase 1 benching. We have definitely seen that impact. In their forecasting models, that is currently not accounted for because they still don't have enough data to be able to truly allow that to be in the projections. So we are keeping an eye on that. We don't expect it to reach moderate flood stage at this point, but we'll continue to monitor it and update the public accordingly. I'm certainly grateful that so far no significant storm damage in the area, but we'll keep an eye through those storms throughout the night, but they appear to have shifted south. So praying for safety for everybody. And because we're 1 week out and nobody wants to talk about it anymore, I will just remind you all that the city of Findlay is well prepared to show off our community for the total solar eclipse on Monday. We have the Findlay Solar Eclipse 2024 website. Please continue to share that with individuals if they have questions about how to enjoy it safely, but our community is prepared for an influx of people, and I would just remind folks that we can still go about our business and enjoy the events and take advantage of our community. Just need to be a little more patient than maybe you would normally. You're not going to be able to get across town 10 minutes. You might have to plan a little longer. I have no clue what it's going to look like, but I can assure you that we're prepared and our team is ready to show off. So that was all. Thank you.
Mr. Palmer.
Want to call the ad hoc committee meeting for next Tuesday at 5:30. This is to finalize the changes for the rules of procedure for council.
Thank you for not calling that on Monday at 5:30. Mr. Ballman.
What to call a planning and zoning committee meeting for April the 11th at noon. We had previously tabled a topic, 116 Laquiano Street. Hope I said that correct. I say it wrong. I say it wrong all the time. We need to lift that from the table and remove it from our agenda. And to my knowledge, that's our only item on the agenda.
I would suggest, just as a suggestion, don't meet, and then just to do it at the next meeting. It's not worth bringing in everyone just to do a lift and a remove. So I would, unless there's other business, I would.
I'll second that.
Recommend that meeting. Other new business. One question for Mr. Martin that he does not know is coming. Is the term for next week, pack your patience?
So 2 slogans that we've been using is manage your expectations, whatever that is for you, wherever you're going to be, and then pack your patience. So yes.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you.
One more reminder. April 27th, the Parkinson's Empowerment Walk, a collaboration between the Hancock County Parkinson's Network and 50 North. Please put it on your calendar and support Barb Matheny, who was here tonight, and the folks with the Parkinson's Network. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Ballman. second, Mr. Palmer. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned.